It's 5:30. It's time to call the meeting to order. Would you please stand as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank all of you that are attending tonight's meeting. I'm glad you're here, and we're going to get started. Thank you. Gentlemen, have you had a chance to look at the agenda? Do you have any modifications at this time?
I have no modifications, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I have no modifications either.
And I do not, so I entertain a motion.
I move that the agenda be adopted as presented.
I second it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried.
David, it's your computer. Here, I'll meet you. All right, should be better now.
Okay. All right, moving along. Item 2, old business. We have one open position, excuse me, for the Planning Commission, and that will be reposted as at a later date. So if you are interested, please apply. And then item number 2 on appointments, it's the Economic Development Advisory Board. There is one open position, and I move to appoint Rod Zinn to a 3-year term ending on January 1st, 2025 to the Economic Development Advisory Board. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 3 on the list, we have one open position for the Historical Preservation Resource Commission, and I move to appoint Julie Dunham to a 3-year term ending on January 1st of 2025 to the Independence Historical Preservation Resource Commission. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. All right, moving to, excuse me, item 3, which is the presentation.
You have the minutes, Mayor, to be approved.
Oh, I'm sorry, I get a little ahead of myself. Oh, I see it. Okay, we have minutes from the City Commission from October 27th of 2021, including November 10th, 18th, and 30th of 2021, December 6th, 23rd, and 29th of 2021, and entertain a motion that we approve those.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried. Now, item number 3, presentation. Presentation of a plaque to Leonard Kaflish for his service as City Commissioner from April 2013 to January 2022, and his service as Mayor from April 2015 to February 2016, January 2018, January 2019, and January 2020, January 2021. Leonard, I congratulate you on the service. I'm pleased that you have been able to serve and move the city forward in your capacity. You've shown good leadership, and I know the city, staff, the public, the commissioners appreciate the job that you have done here for the city of Independence. I wish you well, and maybe you will get a chance to catch your breath and enjoy some time away from, at sometimes can be a circus.
Well, thank you. And I've appreciated the opportunity to serve as City Commissioner and also as Mayor. It's been an education that's been very valuable. You know, it's easy to say, well, this is what I'm going to do, and then when you're faced with having to follow through with what you said and be faithful to that, I found it's a little different, but it's been good. I think I've grown a lot through serving, and I appreciated the opportunity to work with Kelly and David this last year. There's a good direction that they've set for the city. It's exciting to see things done. Also, I want to thank my wife for her support, and also the citizens. I got a lot of calls when I'm doing something that is being considered favorable, but I also got calls when something was a little, in their opinion, different. And I appreciate both, because if you're always told you're doing a good job, there's no chance for improvement. There's also the never self-check to see what was your motivation for making that decision. Are you staying focused to your commitment to serve the community and evaluate what's best for the community? And I really appreciated all comments that came. I think the most interesting commission meeting we had, when we had 150 people come up to express their opinions concerning our mill levy increase. I really appreciated them taking the time to come forward and share their concerns. I think that was a very valuable experience. It reinforced some of the things that I had considered prior to the meeting, and it was good to see people come together and be willing to share their opinion and their concerns with the city. I wish we had that more often, really. But, you know, it's nice to get, oh, you're doing a great job, we appreciate that, but it's good to have somebody come up and say, you know, I really disagree with what you did, because that gives me the opportunity to sit back. Why did I make that decision? Was I off track, or was I staying committed to the best for the city? I got to share this short. Since it's a short commission meeting, I'm going to take a little liberty. A few years back, we were visiting my son in Denver, and he was wanting his daughter to read a book, and he was insistent that she would read that book before we went anywhere. And it was a struggle. She read the book, we left, we're going to go grab something to eat, we're walking through the parking lot, and she just stopped right there. And she said, "Dad, you're not making me very happy right now." And I thought, you know, as grandfather raising 3 children, I kind of smiled. But, you know, being a commissioner, we can't always make decisions that make everybody happy. And sometimes we need to be told, you're not making me very happy, so we can say, what was the motivation for me making that decision? Was I right? Was I wrong? And then what am I going to do in the future too? So I do appreciate everyone's support through the last 2 terms, and look forward to seeing great things happen in the city. So thank you, David. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate the camaraderie and the support.
All right, Leonard, thank you for your service to the community. I know you always had the citizens at your heart, and you looked for the best outcome for the citizens on the decisions that you had to make. It's not always an easy process, but it's something that's very important and vital to a community. At this level, we don't have the option to continually to bicker about a lot of things. There's so many important things that need to be addressed and that we need to move on in a conscientious manner. So I appreciate your time here. I'm glad to see you have a great turnout, and I see grandkids. I see all kinds of family members here. And I wish you and Charlotte well. I hope you get a time to spend doing some fun things together and enjoy time away from here. So I wish you the best of luck to you and Charlotte, and good health.
I just wanted to echo that and thank you for your service and working with staff, and I just really appreciated your leadership and all the service that you did. I know it's a lot of hours and a lot of commitment and zero pay. So we really appreciate your commitment and thank you for all of that.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, moving along. Item number 4, new business. We have reorganization of the commission, oath of office for Tim Emmert that will be serving a 4-year term, and for Louis Isusi, who will be serving a 2-year term.
She's going to go ahead and move now. We'll let Tim take his seat. I have not here. Oh, okay.
Will you gentlemen raise your right hand? I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of City Commissioner, so help me God.
and faithfully discharge the duties of City Commission, so help me God. Affirm. So help me God. Congratulations. David, congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations.
Let's do this next action and then we'll move.
Okay. All righty. Yes. All right. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Okay, Tim, you good?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. Next, we have the election of mayor. And I move to nominate Dean Hayes as mayor. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. And with that, we're going to change places. Here you go.
You want to change your plug?
Oh, I think that'll.
Got it. There's one right there.
Oh, okay, good enough. Thank you. There we go.
Dean, needs nameplates.
Oh, nameplate, yeah. Okay, all right.
Thank you for your patience. Item 3, election of the vice mayor. I move to nominate Tim Emmert as vice mayor. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Welcome aboard, Tim.
Thank you.
Designation of official newspaper. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we move to designate Independence Daily Reporter as the official city newspaper.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Designation of official city depository. Do I have a motion?
Yes. I move to designate Community National Bank as the official city depository.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Consider changing day of week and for commission meetings. We have an attachment here that indicates those dates. Have you had an opportunity to review that calendar, and do you have any changes, or do I have a motion to adopt it as presented?
I move we adopt it as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have item B now, a commission orientation by the city attorney. Jeff?
Good evening. I provided an outline. I'm not going to read it verbatim. If you like, I can three-hole punch it and put the supporting documents in it and give each a three-ring binder, but I do want to touch on some basics. It's always good to refresh and remind yourselves. First section was on conflicts of interest. We did adopt by resolution a code of ethics in 2015. I've attached a copy of it. It kind of speaks for itself. There is a state statute on what they call a substantial interest. And if you're an elected official, when you ran, you would have filled out a disclosure statement listing your substantial interests. And the prohibition is if you have a substantial interest in a business, you can't vote on making a contract with that business unless it was based on competitive bidding. That rarely comes up, but just a reminder. If you do have a conflict, the appropriate thing to do is abstain. And actually, if there's going to be discussion on the topic, it's not required, but it is recommended that you actually leave the room. The thinking being that your presence might intimidate your other commissioners. That's the recommended policy. I was asked to talk a little about form of government. Cities across the state are first, second, third-class cities, and there's probably close to a dozen different types of city government. The smaller towns tend to have an elected mayor because they can't afford to hire a city administrator. And the mayor handles the day-to-day affairs. I remember reading the Gardner-Edgerton area. Edgerton is a little town, but BNSF put its intermodal in there, and it's grown leaps and bounds. They've annexed property, and I saw where they voted to give their mayor a $90,000 bonus. So I thought, well, that's nice. Our mayor's not going to get quite the same salary. We have a city manager commission form of government. I don't know what year the election was held, but it was in the 60s or 70s. I think the thinking was that we're a big enough city. It's nice to have a professional or a highly trained person as city manager to run the day-to-day affairs, as opposed to a lay person without that training trying to do it. I think the citizens recognize that might be a struggle. It's not to say citizens don't criticize city managers over the years. They're kind of the whipping boy for the city, right, Kelly? But she does have the experience and expertise, and that's the form of government we have. It's considered a strong manager form of government. City manager does all the day-to-day administration. Commissions usually tend to stick to policy and general broad considerations instead of the day-to-day administration. We have 3 city commissioners. There is a procedure. We could go to 5. Commissioners all have the same authority. One doesn't trump the others. However, when you organize, you are required to elect a mayor. The statutes and the treatises on what the mayor's duties are basically say it's a ceremonial position, but I think the important part is not the ribbon cutting, but conducting the meetings is very important. And that's, I think, one of the mayor's most important duties. Also, the mayor, our policy that we have setting the agendas, the city manager actually sets them, but she does that in consultation with the mayor. So then the question arises, what if another commissioner who's not mayor wants to get something on the agenda? Well, since we have a 3-person commission, you can't talk to each other about business outside of the meetings. You would have to contact Kelly and say, hey, would you add this on the agenda? Kelly would probably talk to the mayor and stick it on there. But also, at any meeting, you are free to make a motion. I think, like tonight, you can make a motion to add something to the agenda. There's nothing that would stop you from doing that. So, any questions on commissioner duties? Dean, sorry to inform you, the mayor has you don't get a car allowance, you don't get a cell phone allowance. Treated the same as the others. Public participation at meetings, we have a policy dating back to 2010 on what procedures are for participation by the public at meetings. If a citizen wants to be on the agenda, our policy is to submit it in writing to the city manager at least a week in advance. Then the city manager will determine if it's something that should be handled by staff, the commission, or otherwise, and go from there. On any agenda item we have, like on tonight's agenda, if a citizen wants to speak on it, they can fill out a card with their name, etc., and give it to Dave. Dave will give it to chairman, and when that agenda item comes up, they have 3 minutes to tell the commission something that they feel is important. It's not a time for cross-examination. It's really a time for them to express their opinion, so you have the benefit of that opinion and have that information. Also, at the end of each agenda, you'll note there's a public concerns area. People can also submit a card for that, and they could talk about any topic. And again, it's not really to cross-examine commissioners, although that tends to happen sometimes. You're not required to respond. You can refer questions to staff and so forth. Conducting a meeting, that is the mayor's responsibility. You have to have a quorum to have a meeting. A quorum would be 2. There's a handout that the league has provided that gives tips to for the mayor on conducting a meeting. One of the most helpful tips would be if things get heated, maybe it's time to take a recess. The mayor can call a recess, things cool down, and you get readjourn or reconvene and go about your business. The actions taken by city commission during a meeting, there's 3 forms. There's simple motion, where you just make a motion and vote on it. A second, of course, and vote on it. The next step up is adopting a resolution, and the strongest action you can take is ordinance. Ordinances are published in our code book, and are also required to be published in the newspaper before they become effective. Kansas Open Meetings Act. I could spend a lot of time on that. I'd recommend, if you haven't gone to a seminar on that, the Attorney General's office schedules them around the state, and they're very informative. But basically, for the Open Meetings Act to apply, there must be a meeting. The definition of meeting is very broad, includes interactive communications of any type, calling trees, emails, relaying messages through your kids, through Facebook or what have you. And with 3 commissioners, it's tough. It's not unusual for 2 of you to be at a function and being in the same room. You know, that's not a violation. But if you start talking about city business, it would be. So you just have to pay attention. Open Records Act. Every public record that the city has is subject to inspection and copying by the public, but there are 55 exceptions. And city clerk Dave, if somebody in the public wants a record, they make the request to him. We have forms we like them to use. They don't have to use the form. And once he gets it, he has 3 business days to respond. And we have a procedure that's established by resolution, or I think it's actually by ordinance. It's in the city code. And we attempt to follow that as best we can. But the starting point is that every record we have is a public record unless it falls under one of those 55 exceptions. City commissioners wanting records. Between meetings, it's not unusual for a city commissioner to want a little more detail about a subject. Requests should be made to city manager. City manager then provides them to all three commissioners. If there's a request on something that's not like an agenda item, that is like way out in left field, happened 20 years ago, the procedure would be to make a request under the Open Records Act, just like any citizen, and it would be treated that way. And the last area I wanted to cover was chain of command, and this is no different than any other governmental entity, school districts, colleges, cities. We have employees, we have supervisors, we have city manager, assistant city manager, department heads, each one responsible for the people underneath them. The city functions better if its employees follow that chain of command, and if somebody in the street department has a question, they usually go to their supervisor. In fact, that's probably what the personnel policy says. They don't jump over their supervisor and go to the city manager and try and get their boss in trouble. There are some exceptions. I guess harassment of some type would be an exception, and we take that seriously. But typically, you want employees to follow chain of command. And similarly, the only reason I bring this up is if you're out in the public and you see a city street worker, you think the cone should be here or something like that, and you start telling them where to put the cone, well, then they're going to be confused. So, and that's not going to happen very often, but I guess it's just kind of a caveat that if a city employee doesn't respond to direction from you directly, it's probably because they shouldn't. They should follow their supervisor. Like I say, these are just general things to think about as a city commissioner. Reminders, and that's really all I had. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Gentlemen, do you have any questions for Jeff?
I have none.
No.
Thank you for your preparation of that information, Jeff. Moving on then, gentlemen, we have the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, action, items for commission action. Item A is consider proclaiming January 16th, 2022 as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Commemoration Day. Who is presenting this?
I believe Kathy Shepard is here to present this item.
Charles Barker.
Good evening, Kathy, and I see Charles coming forward. Please come up to the microphone. Thank you both for being here this evening.
Yes, thank you. We are asking the city to proclaim Sunday, January 16th, as Martin Luther King Day celebration here in Independence. We do this annually. It is hosted by our Independence Diversity Task Force, and so we are hoping that you all will proclaim that day Martin Luther King Celebration Day.
Kathy, do you want to tell them about the event on Sunday?
Sure. Sunday at 3 o'clock at Independence High School will be the celebration. We hope everybody can come out and partake in that. We have lots of featured speakers from different faith organizations here in Independence. We have lots of music, and one of the fun things that we do with that is a service project we call the Food Fight. It is a contest between the schools and the City of Independence community to see who can collect the most food. We have realized that our local food pantries are depleted after the Christmas holiday, and donations don't come in as much in January. And so we ask that people bring a canned food item so they can participate in that. And then we see who has collected the most. Eisenhower School has typically been our big winner, but we're always looking for somebody to pass them by. We have a traveling plaque that we present each year to whoever wins that. And during that ceremony, we also will be presenting the Spirit of Unity Award, and that's presented to a community member who promotes diversity and community within the city.
I'm just a pretty face. Don't look at Jeff. Jeff said, "Don't look at me." We would really like to thank the city for being supportive in years past, and not just the city, but the citizens of Independence. What a great opportunity it is for us to celebrate the life and legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And we thank you for your continued support, and certainly the support of the Independence Chamber. So with that,
Very good.
we'd like to see
Thank you. Is that everything then? Well, thank you both for being here this evening, and we would like to celebrate, of course, all of the activity of the Diversity Task Force and all the good work you do. Please keep up the good work, and we'd like to see what you're doing.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I move that January the 16th, 2022 be proclaimed as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Commemoration Day in the City of Independence.
I second.
Do you want to also authorize the mayor to sign the proclamation?
Put on your big boy pants and sign it. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And authorize the mayor to sign it.
Yes.
Very well, and do I have, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Would you like at this time for me to read the proclamation?
You certainly may.
I think it's customary for us to read the proclamation at this time into the record. So, Proclamation 2022, honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whereas the 15th day of January is the birthday anniversary of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and whereas Dr. King stood before the entire world as a man of peace, a champion of human dignity, and an example of love and brotherhood, and whereas the citizens of Independence do recognize Dr. King's contribution to the good of all mankind, and they do desire to perpetuate and implement the ideals expressed in his dream of peace and harmony among all God's children, now therefore I, Dean Hayes, Mayor of the City of Independence, do hereby proclaim the day of January 16th, 2022, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Commemoration Day, and urge that every citizen of Independence join me in extending recognition and honor to the memory of this great leader of humankind by attending the local celebration, King's Vision, It Starts With Me, Shifting Priorities to Create the Beloved Community, on Sunday, January 16th, 2022 at 3 p.m. at the Independence High School Performing Arts Center. In witness hereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Independence, Kansas to be affixed this day, January 13th, 2022.
Thank you.
Item B, consider setting the date of March 10th, 2022 for a public hearing to consider condemnation of 729 North Penn Avenue as dangerous and unsafe.
Mayor, this structure was involved in a fire recently, the house next door. This house received considerable damage, and the insurance company has considered it a total loss. The city has received by ordinance funds for demolition, which we are holding, and the owner is in the process to privately contract with a contractor to remove this. However, we did inform him we start the process, and if he diligently doesn't proceed, then we will proceed with removal of the house through the condemnation process. So I am asking if the commission would set March 10th, 2022 at 5:30 for a public hearing.
And this is the standard interval for that type of process.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, David. Are there any questions for David, gentlemen?
I have none.
Do I have a motion?
I move to set the date of March 10th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. for a public hearing to consider condemnation of 729 North Penn Avenue.
Second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, gentlemen. Motion carries. Aye. Reports. City Board minutes. Have you had a chance to review the City Board minutes in the agenda packet?
Yes, I have.
Very good. I'm getting that feedback again, David.
What's that light up there, David?
Oh, it's that,
Jerry,
the light.
are you addressing the light?
Then item B is the CRS recertification report. I'm going to hang that up so that we don't get that dial tone. Thank you. David, are you presenting the CRS recertification this evening?
Yes, sir. I can give you a little brief. CRS program was initiated by the city with approval of the commission. The goals of the CRS program are to control our floodplain and help watch what is occurring in the floodplain to prevent future flood damage. So we do a lot of public information, social media. We monitor the floodplain for any activity which could cause issues in the floodplain. Plus, we do, as you can see in the report, do different planning to help control flood water, help the neighborhoods that are having flooding. So there's just a lot of activity that goes on that we monitor. All of this work is leading to a 15% discount on those people this year that need flood insurance. So if you're in the floodplain and you need insurance, you will get a 15% discount because of those works that we participate in the CRS program.
Very good.
That is a significant decrease. Thank you, David, for the hard work. Any questions?
I have none.
No.
Proceeding then to the December 2021 sales tax report. Good evening, Lacey.
Hello. Okay, the December 2021 sales tax report, the last month of the calendar year for collections, these would have been for sales in October of 2021 because they are reported on a 2-month lag. But we finished the year out at just under 16% over our budgeted collections. So in dollars, we collected $308,303 more than we had budgeted, and that is in the 1%. So you have to remember that we have 1% going to the general fund, 1% for education sales tax, and 1% for special use sales tax. So a quarter of that 1% special use sales tax also goes to the general fund. So roughly $385,000 over our budgeted collections for the general fund. So great news for sales tax this year, and we hope that that trend continues into next year.
Indeed, very good.
Any
Very
questions?
good news.
Nope.
Questions, gentlemen?
Very good.
I'm good, very good. Thank you, Lacey.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lacey. Item D is a reminder of the January 19th, 2022 Strategic Planning Retreat.
And that is Wednesday, and it starts at 8 o'clock at the Country Club, and it is an all-day retreat. So I just wanted to remind you of that.
Thank you. And we're meeting in which room at the Country Club?
Generally, we meet in the large room.
Okay. So we're moving on to item 8 then, city manager's comments.
I received actually an email from Andy saying that we didn't say the time of the commission meetings. They are generally the second and fourth Thursday at 5:30 and the third Wednesday at 9 a.m. Is generally when they are held. So I apologize I didn't have that written on your schedule.
Thank you. Any other city manager comments?
And just congratulations, and looking forward to working with all of you, and welcome aboard.
Thank you, Kelly. The feeling's mutual. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Yususi?
I have none tonight, thank you.
Commissioner Emmer? I have none. Public concerns, David? None this evening? Item 11, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for being here this evening. I appreciate your attendance. Have a good evening.
41 minutes.